Welcome, friends and fiends, to the Critique Podcast. My name's Kenny. I'm here with my good friend Godden, and together we're here to watch and review every horrific, often hilarious episode of the legendary HBO anthology series, Tales from the Crypt. Good morning, Godden. How are you?
Good morning, Kenny. I'm doing great.
This is so exciting. I always love coming on and chatting with you about our most recent episode. This week, we're talking about Season 3, Episode 8, Easel Kill Ya. It premiered on July 17th, 1991, and it comes to us from, dun dun dun, the Vault of Horror. I think this is the end of our Vault of Horror extravaganza. I think we had, was it 4 or 5 episodes in a row of the Vault of Horror? Yes, this is 1, 2, 3, the 4th episode from the Vault of Horror. So this is kind of neat. I don't mind this. I don't mind having, a whole run of the same comic. All these little tidbits of information you find out when you do an actual podcast, huh? I would have never paid attention to this otherwise.
I did enjoy the fact that we had that much in a row, but I'm good that we're kind of easing out of it.
Yeah.
So getting to new stuff. So
before we get into the episode, there's a bit of housekeeping we need to take care of. First of all, Godden and I are not experts. We're not professionals in any way, shape, or form. We're just a couple of friends who want to watch this show and build a community around it. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to get some things wrong. We might even get some things right. Either way, feel free to reach out and share your thoughts with us, because that's what's really important to us. It's not important that we get things right. It's not important that we absolutely are perfect at this show. What's important to us is the community we build around it. If you have any thoughts or opinions, feel free to share them in the comments. We'll do the best we can to share those comments on our podcast. Also, spoiler warning, we're going to go into great detail on these episodes. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it on your own, come back and hear us go on about it. So with that out of the way, let's dive in to Easel Kill Ya. Let us start by reading the ancient text, inked in human blood, bound in human flesh. Description on the back of the DVD box set here. He paints still lifes, very still lifes. An inspiring artist finds success by painting people he's murdered. Ooh, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, all these episodes on this box set here, there's not enough room to really dive into what's going on here. So I cooked up a little something here. A struggling artist, Jack, discovers a lucrative new art form, murdering people and painting their dead bodies. Each grisly masterpiece brings him more money and sinks him deeper into darkness. Hoping to escape the monster he's becoming, Jack turns towards a new romantic connection. But fate has other, far crueler plans.
I liked it.
It doesn't give too much away.
It was vague, but it was thrilling. This one, had a little bit more meat, just in case, just a little more details, but it's still vague.
Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah, Godden's helping me to shape my goal for these. I'd like them to be enough meat on the bone to really satiate your curiosity about the episode, but not too much to spoil it, right? We're going to leave the spoils for the actual episode. So now, before we get into this episode, I do want to spend some time going over something that everybody is very excited to hear about. Godden, what are your overall thoughts of this episode before we dive in?
I really enjoy the pacing. I enjoyed the actors, on this set. It was just enjoyable to watch them and interact. They had great dialogue, realistically. The pacing was fantastic. I'd say it was great pacing, and honestly, I don't want to, give out more, but those are just my general feelings about this episode. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, the chemistry was good between the characters, I think, is what you were saying. And yeah, the love interest, the two main characters, basically, there is an interesting dynamic between the two, and I definitely appreciated that on screen. And as far as the pacing, I agree with you on the pacing, because there are some kills in this episode, spoiler, but the way they're paced out and the way they happen are I like watching them unfold. So yeah, the pacing was pretty good, and I like the characters as well. So this I did like this episode quite a bit. That brings us to the Crypt Keeper's intro. This is I kind of like this intro and outro, by the way. I'm just going to go out and say it before we really get into it. But the Crypt Keeper is painting, and there's like a beating heart that's beside him, and he says, "Greetings, art lovers. Vincent Van Ghoul here with another morbid masterpiece, sure to paint you into a coroner. Something's not quite right. Ah, yes." And at this point, he grabs a knife and stabs it through the beating heart. And he says, "Now that's a still life. Tonight's tale concerns a painter who's tired of people giving his work the brush. I call this pestilent portrait Easel Kill Ya." All right, and that brings us to the opening panel. And in it is a man painting with a beautiful woman behind him, and she's revealing herself, let's say. She's definitely got her leg thrust up and is very excited to be painted. But what's interesting is the painter is painting with a knife, and he's looking at us, the audience. So he's not looking at her, and he's not painting with a paintbrush, and he's also got like that cup full of knives. So this guy's up to something. Looks very sinister. I actually like this opening panel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I really enjoy the knives instead of like the brushes that you're used to. So it's like, what is this person going through? You know, like
What
he's
is
not a normal
this man
person.
up to? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and also like the
painting.
background is like a smattering of colors, like almost like a Jackson Pollock painting. But then you've got the red up on top, dripping down, looking like the blood, and it probably is blood. Yeah.
Or jam. It's just red, you know.
Or jam. It's
We
just
don't know
red.
yet. Yeah.
It could be anything. Anything that's red. Also, look. This is my perverse mind looking into this. Look at the handle of the knife, the phallic object, and look where it's placed in relation to her. Interesting. Would you say?
Interesting. It is interesting that they would do that, you know. It's just interesting.
Very,
But,
very interesting. Let's dive into the episode. So we open up in the studio of, this is Jack. I call it a studio, but it's his apartment, right? He lives basically in a flat, and it's his studio as well. And he's basically, Jack, our main character, is showing off all of his new art to an art dealer. And she's not very happy with it. She's not very happy with his art. She says, maybe you should go back to drinking. So right away, we get the impression that this man is a recovering alcoholic, and she basically, the art dealer, wants him to go back to drinking because I guess he lost his inspiration, right? If he's not drinking. She goes on to say, if it's about money, I could get you a job at the gallery. And that's not what Jack wanted to hear. Clearly, he's trying to sell some of his art. He's not trying to just work in a gallery. Jack looks down, he grabs a hammer, and he bashes it into her head. She falls down dead, and he just stares at her. Of course, we realize this is a fantasy, and then we kind of snap back out of it, and he's still there talking to her. And that takes us right into the next scene where he's in therapy, and he's basically recounting the whole situation, saying that, I would have really enjoyed killing her. And then we get a zoom out even farther, and we see that he has an audience, and the woman in charge comes up behind him and says, "But you didn't kill him. You faced your demons, and you came here to share it with us." And then she says like some weird mantra, and then the people in the audience like repeat back the mantra. It's very culty. I've never been to an AA meeting, but I assume this is what that would be like. Very culty. So yeah, he's struggling with alcohol. He's struggling with addiction, but at the same time, he's sharing about having fantasies about killing people. So I guess this is like a therapy session for like all kinds of issues. This is kind of weird. What do you think about the setup so far?
Well, the first thing, because we never mentioned this, but I'm glad it's Tim Roth. I like Tim Roth as an actor, so I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's who's our main character is Tim Roth. So
does he have a British accent in everything he's in? Is he British?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's British, but I don't remember if he has any roles with accents. He
Okay.
might just be playing
'Cause
himself realistically, but yeah.
I found his accent in this episode to be very inconsistent. I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be British or American. I think he was supposed to be British, but at some points I didn't hear an accent, so I just found that to be inconsistent.
But yeah, to your main question, what are like the setup? Yeah, I like it so far. It's like, is he having delusions? Is this actually like, is this, what's actually happening to this character? But I do like how it's just instantly off the bat. It's just to the kill. I like when some of these episodes start off with a bang, like 5 minutes in, or maybe less than 5 minutes. But it reminds me of the earlier episodes in the season. The Carry On Death. It just start off with a bang like that.
Mhm.
It just that's the pace we're going for. So I guess yeah, I can maybe agree to the idea that culty might be the best word for that, but for like those AA meetings or therapy sessions like that with mantras. But yeah, it looks like he has some sort of like demons. So
Well, that's a
yeah,
good way to put it. Yeah,
so far it's
he's
yeah.
battling some demons.
I like the setup so far. It's nothing too crazy. I don't think it's too corny either. But
Oh, it's good. It's good so far. Yeah.
yeah.
So after this meeting outside, Jack's getting into his car, and he gets approached by one of the other people who are at the meeting, Sharon. And this is the love interest of the episode, by the way. And she seems very sweet, and she's just kind of warming up to Jack, and she kind of invites herself over to his place and suggested a relationship, and he kind of dismisses her a little bit, but she presses him though, and she says basically, I want you to loosen up, and I want you to notice the beauty around you. And she offers to actually come over and sit for him, like to model for him. That brings us to the studio. She's posing for him. She's sitting on a little stool, and he's painting, and she gets right into it. I think she's into him. She basically throws her skirt up, and we basically get the scene from the opening panel. She throws her skirt up, she lifts up her leg, and she's like, "How about this?" And this kind of, I think this surprises him because he kind of gets startled. He throws his paintbrush down and is dismissive of her, and that kind of causes her to maybe be a little self-conscious. She puts her skirt down, and he says, "How about a drink?" And of course, he's a recovering alcoholic, so she kind of gives him a side eye, like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I meant water." So he grabs some water, and they sit together, and while they're drinking their water, he says, "I hate this place." And she says, "Then why do you live here?" And he says, "I think it used to be romantic." And she notices that he's kind of struggling. And I think he is. He's like at a crossroads at this point. Like maybe he used to think this place was romantic when he was drinking, and maybe he was even, I don't know, maybe he used to be a really good artist as well. And then he quit drinking, and now he's struggling. So I think he's becoming a new person, but he's uncomfortable with who that person needs to be. And I think she sees that in him. She says, basically, "You're struggling." And she notices, though, that he's strong. He's strong, and he does the right thing. And she promises that, he'll get through it. And she leaves, but she offers to come back tomorrow to sit for him again. This was a pretty good scene. When she offers to come back tomorrow, though, that kind of threw me off because I was expecting her to come back tomorrow. As we go through this episode, you're going to realize we don't see her again for a while.
Yeah, no, I completely forgot about her as well, honestly. It's like way later, so I'm like, oh yeah, Sharon.
Right. Yeah, it does get to a point where you almost forget about her for a while.
Yeah.
So that night, okay, he's by himself and he's painting, and he's actually painting looking at the stool where she was sitting. So I think I don't know if he's remembering her or thinking about her or she's on his mind, but he's definitely painting where she was. But there's loud music playing and he just can't concentrate. So he walks over to the fire escape where the music's coming from, and he actually kicks the stool over. I don't know if you noticed that, but he kicks the stool over on his way there. And I don't know if that was done in a way to signify that he's kind of mad at her or something like that, because it's where she was sitting, and they made a big deal about, portraying that the stool was there. So I don't know if there's anything in the fact that he kicked it over on the way there, but I just thought it was interesting that, that's where she was sitting, and then he kicked it over. I'm probably reading too much into it. I've been known to read too much into things before.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's a good perspective because, like, then it makes me think about, like, yeah, there was one moment with him being, in the AA meeting. Maybe it's just him like having aggressive issues or something, or whatever the flow is for individuals who are going through like some sort of,
Oh, yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it did kind of give a window into his aggressiveness, didn't it? Like, yeah,
Mhm.
maybe that signifies that it does have the potential to maybe hurt her. Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah. Okay. I like it much better now. So he finally gets out to the fire escape. He looks down and the guy is blaring some just obnoxious music. And he gets in an argument with him and tells him basically to turn it down. The guy goes inside and he turns it up and basically comes back outside and just starts egging him on. He starts like air guitaring with the music and staring up at him.
Yeah.
And this is where the first murder comes in. And it's actually an accident. So he goes to lean over the side to yell at him to turn it down. He knocks over a flower pot. It falls down. It hits the guy in the head and the guy falls to his death. But this is where it starts to get twisted, though. The episodes gets dark here. He doesn't call for help. He doesn't do anything like that. He comes back out with a camera and starts taking pictures of the dead man on the concrete. And he goes back inside with the photos. And this is back when Polaroids were all the rage, by the way. So he actually had the photos right on a Polaroid and he starts painting the dead body that he saw. When he's finished with the painting, he's kind of cleaning up, and that's where he notices a magazine, an article. It's basically an article in a magazine talking about this art collector named Malcolm Mayflower. So he wants to go see this guy, basically. This collector of morbid art might be interested in getting this morbid art that he just created. So he goes and he sees Mr. Mayflower the next day. He goes to his art studio, or it's probably his house. Right, this guy's really rich, so he has like all this art all over the place in his house, and it's all very macabre art, like photos of the Holocaust and photos of a plane just before it crashes, photos of a man getting shot moments before they pull the trigger. So he's very interested in this whole morbid art, and he basically goes out and says it as he comes up and he says, "Remarkable, isn't it? The finest collection of morbid art." And this is where Jack shows him his painting, and Mayflower is incredibly impressed. He even says, "I don't like it. I covet it." And you can like something, right? You can enjoy something, but not necessarily covet it. To covet it means that you actually want it. So you enjoy it and you want it. So he definitely deeply wants this art. And Mayflower says, "All of my art lacks the artist's interpretation," because they're all photos, right? So the fact that it's a painting, it's the macabre scene, the death scene is filtered through Jack before he paints it, and that's what Mayflower wants. Mayflower wants that personal touch to it. And he says, "How much do you want?" And Jack says, "2." He says, "That's an insult." And he writes a number down on his check. He gives him the check and he looks at it. Jack looks at it and he says, "No, I want 200. And he said, "Consider it a down payment on your next one. I'm going to give you 20,000 for it." Here's what I think happened. He said 200. And I think Mayflower gave him 2,000.
Yeah, he did do that because when he said 100, eventually I thought he meant 200,000, right? It's for that painting. So then when he said down payment, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
he can basically just say that's a down payment, and when he said 20,000, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
I think that that makes sense to me too. So he must have said 200, and then he probably wrote 2,000. Okay, so at this point, right, he's starting to make some money. He has a collector who's interested in his art, and he has the potential to make some money now. Do you want to say anything else about this art collector before we move on?
I had nothing against him. I enjoyed like when he was showing him around the place and just like, oh yeah, look at my place. Like also I want your art. It's like, all right, you know what you're spending your money on, and it looks like you don't waste time. So it's like, all right.
Yeah, this Mayflower guy is interesting. He's not a bad guy. He has strange taste. He has a very unique taste in something that's very dark and gruesome, but he's not necessarily the bad guy. Although, is he though? Because what he enjoys is not victimless, right? His photos that he wants so bad do depict victims.
Yeah, like you said, he's not a bad guy, but maybe he just likes strange things, and that just is one of them that captured him. So he coveted it. He coveted it. So
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the difference is the art he has so far has victims in it, but the artist taking the photo isn't necessarily inflicting that. They're just capturing that moment. It's what Jack goes on to become, that the artist is directly related to the victim.
Yeah, I totally agree that it develops way more as it progresses.
Oh yeah, the first one was a legit accident.
Yeah, but maybe I don't know if he took it in because the past memory before the AA meeting, it's like maybe he doesn't care.
Yeah, he definitely has that inside him. He has that. Yeah. He has that rage inside him and that desire inside him. But the first time it happened was a legit accident. So that might have finally been that final tipping point
moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the studio, back to Jack's studio, and he's painting, but he's very uninspired at this point. He's just he's not really into it. He keeps looking at that stool though, where Shannon was, and this is where we get him fantasizing about her being there and basically throwing up her skirt and showing off her leg and saying, "How about this, Jack? How about this, Jack?" Right? Like she's really getting into it. And he's basically, fantasizing about that. So he can't get her off his mind. And he also can't paint in this moment. So he leaves. And I think he's leaving to get a drink because he had some booze, right? He had like a bottle of something that it was empty. So he threw it down. Is that what he grabbed before he left?
Yeah, no, I believe so. Yeah, that sounds about right. I can't think of anything that would be like something else realistically.
Yeah, so I think he was drinking before he left. I like this next scene, but it's one of my favorite scenes in the episode. So he leaves, and while he's in the hallway going downstairs, I don't know who this is. I think it's the superintendent or the manager or something, but I put her in my notes as the floozy next door. So he's getting ready to leave, and this floozy neighbor says, "Hey, artist, why don't you pick us up a nice bottle of entertainment? Unless you're sober." And she's holding up some cash for him. So I think this is like a normal occurrence between the two, where they'll indulge together, and then I don't know, he probably sleeps with her or something. I don't know, but he says, "It's on me this time," and she says, "Oh yeah? Who'd you kill?" So I wonder if she has hints at what he desires in that way, or she's just kind of making an offhand comment that was just, coincidental to what he's going through. But it was interesting choice of words there. And he says, "I sold a painting." And she says, "Well, there's a sucker born every minute." So she's not interested in his art. She's not interested in what he's interested in. She's interested in just drinking with him, right? And at that moment, that's when he notices there's a bunch of stuff in the hall. And he says, "What's up with all this stuff?" And she says, "I'm going to be moving it to the basement to sell for that dead creep's back rent." So that dude that he accidentally killed, I guess she's clearing out the apartment. She's going to sell all of his stuff to pay for all of his back rent. She has to move it down to the basement. But she says, "Now an old lady like me has to lug it down those slippery stairs. I could trip and break my neck." And I love this moment. This is probably the best moment. And you already know because I see you laughing.
Yeah.
He takes a couple steps forward and he says, "Do you want some help?" And we immediately cut to this old lady tumbling down the stairs. I was expecting a build up or something. I just love this cut. It was done so well. So he clearly just threw her down the stairs. She tumbles down and she actually lands on these shears. They impale her right through her body. And so he goes downstairs and he actually starts collecting her blood in a jar. So I think he's planning on using her blood for the painting. But at this moment, she wakes up. She grabs him. And I was expecting him to do something to finish her off, like throw her down farther on the shears or strangle her or something. But he doesn't. He grabs his camera and he keeps taking photos of her while she's struggling. So that was a really macabre moment. I thought that was really, really dark and really shine some light into his character. He's not interested in, he's interested in the aesthetic of it, of the capturing the moment part of it. So even when he's in danger of her grabbing onto him, he doesn't care. He wants to capture her final moments. I thought that was really, really dark. Did you want to say anything else about that moment?
But yeah, you put it well, right? Like it is dark, it is macabre, like, and yeah, it maybe it's just like that moment. They're just like you said, like they're just trying to capture that one moment. It's like the call to the void, or what is that? What it is? Like call to the void? Because it's just death, right? It's just darkness. So it's just like trying to get that moment where like their eyes are probably out or something. So yeah, it is really it's really gruesome in its own way.
Yeah, it was a really gruesome scene. I liked it a lot though. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes those photos upstairs and he paints the scene that he saw, or that he captured. And the next day, though, there's a knock at the door, and he wakes up and frantically takes all those photos, hides them, throws a blanket over his painting, and tries to hide everything and clean everything up. I noticed, though, he didn't put any of those booze bottles away. So I was expecting there to be some sort of tension between, because this is Sharon at the door, by the way, and when she comes in, I expected her to see the bottles and there to be some sort of a confrontation. It never happened, but I guess it was kind of a missed opportunity of some added tension in the whole episode, but she never noticed the bottles. But she is worried that Jack hasn't been to therapy in a couple of weeks. And he tells her, I have a client. She's very happy for him. And she goes on to say that he needs some positivity in his life. And she starts to say some of those cliche mantra type things that you would hear in those types of meetings. And I don't think he's having it. He doesn't want to hear this. He basically says, you don't know who I really am. And at this moment, he takes off the cover over his painting and she sees what it is. And it basically, it's kind of like abstract, but it's Shears being plunged through a rib cage with all kinds of this, gruesome red all over the painting. It's very abstract, but you see what he's, if you know the situation, you know what he's painting. But if you don't know the situation, it just looks very abstract. So I don't think she quite understands what's going on. But she insists she does. She says, I understand you. And they kiss. And then that brings us to the love scene. So that night they make passionate love on the bed there. And at one point, Sharon says to him, give in to me. And he has this vision of Mayflower there in bed with him. And he says, yes, give in to your other side. And that makes Jack kind of flip out. He throws her down and he grabs a clock and he gets ready to basically clock her over the head with a clock. And he kind of snaps back to reality. I feel like at this point, he's kind of ashamed of himself. He gets out of bed, he gets dressed, and he takes his painting and he's going to go sell it basically and get his money. And he says to her, I need you here when I get back. But I think this is the point where he realizes these crazy desires that he's kind of feeding into need to stop because they're jeopardizing his relationship with Sharon. I think he's starting to have feelings for Sharon. He doesn't want to hurt her. He wants to be with her. And he's going to sell this painting, make his $20,000 and call it done. I think that's his plan at this point. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts up to this point so far?
Yeah, I like how kind of that it wasn't the main twist, right? Like that was like a twist in itself. Like yeah, in the middle of like that heated moment, like something like that happens. Like, oh wow, like I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. But it was cool that he was ready to kill, because that was kind of freaky. If that was like happening in the moment, like he just wants to get out of it. He just will kill the clock. He said clock him over the head, but yeah, it was our character's falling deeper into like this darkness of this madness or whatever it is, and we're just like, wow, it's terrible.
Yeah, he's a very passionate person, right? He's so passionate for his love that he's willing to give up his alternative passion, which is drawing this macabre art. It's just it's an interesting dynamic going on with him. So he takes his art back to Mayflower, and basically this whole interaction here, Jack wants to be finished. He wants to sell his art for $20,000 and just call it done. And Mayflower is basically telling him, no, you are an amazing artist. You have so much more to provide, and I'm willing to give you $100,000 for your next painting. And Jack basically says, nope, I won't be needing the money. And Mayflower, after Jack leaves, says, oh, I think you will, Jack. I think you will. This is the setup, I think, for the upcoming twist, this moment here. Because Jack, in his mind, won't need the money. He's done with it. He wants to be finished with this part of his life. And Mayflower is, alluding at the fact that, no, you'll be back, buddy. You'll be back. Before Jack gets back to the studio, we get Sharon kind of snooping around. I don't know if she's snooping around and just opening up the cabinet to get some water or whatever. I don't know what she's doing, but she does find the photos. She looks through them, and she basically, at this point, I think, finally gets insight into Jack's, I would say, proclivities, right? Taking pictures of dead bodies and painting them.
Yeah.
So this terrifies her. And at this moment, Jack finally gets back, and she basically runs away from him. He runs after her, and when they make it outside, she runs across the street and gets hit by a car. So she's wiped out. And we go right to the hospital from there. And she's basically, I think, in a coma of some sort. And the doctor says, we've got the best neurosurgeon in the city on his way here right now. If anyone can save her, it's him. But she doesn't have any insurance, and her family can't afford the procedure. So basically, right, the only opportunity to save her is going to be for this surgeon. And Jack says, you find the doctor to do the operation. I'll get the money. So this is what Mayflower was talking about. You'll be back. So he needs a way to make a quick buck. He's got to find a victim, paint him to give to Mayflower to make this whole thing go away, basically. So at this point, I just want to, actually, I'm going to give the spoiler. We'll get to the spoilers at the end. I did think at this point it was going in a different direction from where it ended up going. So let me explain the way it happened first, and then I'll kind of explain where I thought it was going. So Jack leaves. He's in the parking lot, and he sees this man get basically walking to the hospital. He attacks him. He kills him. He drags him into an alley, and he actually, at this point, just grabs like an old piece of cardboard hanging out there on the ground. He rubs his hands and fingers on the blood of his victim, and then basically finger paints with the victim's blood, the dead body. He brings it to Mayflower. Mayflower basically says, you've made me a very happy man. Gives him $100,000. Jack takes that $100,000 back to the hospital. Of course, the money won't do anything because some maniac attacked the surgeon and caved in his skull. So Jack actually killed the very surgeon who was sent to help the love of his life. And he's watching as the doctors cover up her dead body. And at that moment, police investigator walks up to Jack with a bloody paintbrush and says, I understand you're an artist. So I think Jack ends up getting, caught for his misdeeds. So he definitely gets that. He definitely gets his comeuppance. Mm-hmm. What did you think about this twist?
I liked it, honestly. I like how simple the ending was. It kind of leaves it on like a mystery note, as of, oh, I understand you're a painter. It's like he's definitely caught. Like just there's no mystery about that. But it's great how they made it so the first guy he sees happened to be the person that would have saved, his love interest. It's like, yeah, I didn't see that coming initially, but I'm glad it kind of happened in that way.
Yeah, I thought the twist when he said, or when the doctor said the neurosurgeon's on his way, I thought Mayflower was going to be the surgeon because we never learned what Mayflower did. So I thought, oh my gosh, Mayflower's the surgeon, and Mayflower is going to basically tell him, I don't want your money. I want you to keep giving me paintings. So I thought it was going to go that way. So when he walked out into the parking lot and saw just a random dude walking and then decided to kill him, like at that moment, I was like, oh, I get it. That was the surgeon. Like, so the twist in that way felt a little deflated. It felt a little separated from the rest of the episode. If the surgeon was Mayflower, it would have really connected. it would have connected his two passions, right? This death art and the collector representing that, and then his love, Sharon, representing that. I felt like it would have connected the two together a little more satisfying in a more satisfying way. The way they did it, I feel like it was a little disconnected. Not to say that it was bad. It was just, it didn't flow very well for me. So yeah, there's that. That's just the twist I was expecting versus the twist that I got.
I see.
Well, that brings us back to the Crypt Keeper, who is painting, but the ends of his paintbrushes don't have brushes on them. They're actually fingers that are put on the end of these sticks. So right away, I get the joke. I see what's going on here. And he says, well, Sharon's croaking is sure to leave a very bad taste on Jack's palate. What a shame she turned into such a Mona Lisa. You know, kiddies, some artists prefer watercolors. Others prefer oils. But me, I prefer finger painting. This was an interesting one because I saw the punchline coming a mile away. I don't think they need to say it in this case because it was so obvious what he was doing. He was finger painting, but what are you going to do? You know, I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. The outro is just so fun.
So, as a whole, the episode, I felt like the whole focusing on an artist in this way, in this really dark setting, I got some serious Tales from the Dark Side vibes. If you've ever watched that movie, there's a segment in that called Lover's Vow. And that's the one where she's a gargoyle of some sort, and she's pretending to be a human. And I'm not explaining everything correctly. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But I just got those vibes because I felt like it was a very similar setting. He was an artist, and he was basically hiding a really dark secret. And when he finally confides in his wife, I think his wife or his girlfriend, it turns out that she was the gargoyle that he had seen many years ago that he wasn't supposed to say anything about. And then it sounds confusing the way I'm saying it. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. It reminded me of that is what I'm trying to say.
Well, then honestly, I gotta watch it because it sounds like you don't understand how good it is. You know, maybe it's just that good.
I can't explain how good it is. I need more time. We need a whole episode just to talk about that episode. If you know it, then you know it. You know what I'm talking about. But it does remind me of that. Was there anything that this episode reminded you of?
Yeah, one in particular. It's this movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm pretty sure it's called Nightcrawler. And what it is he's like I'm not sure if it works directly with the police, but he's like a media or a news station where he tries to capture everything before like the news anchors get there, so they get like some sort of recognition. But then he starts to go into this like dark, deep path of like at this point he's just chasing like that moment, like, oh, what's like the best thing he can capture on camera, you know, just to sell it for like a highest price, because he understands there's like a whole secret thing. Like people will definitely pay way more to see that kind of violence and gore, you know. So it reminded me of that. It really did, with the whole painter and capturing the death and then killing just to keep money afloat. But yeah, it was nice.
I got that sense as well with the Nightcrawler. That was because that's basically almost a similar plot, isn't it? He's making money off of death, and then by the end of it, he's actually the arbiter of death, right? He's the bringer of death to basically capture the moment and then sell it. Yeah, interesting parallels. Okay, well, that brings us to ratings. I liked this episode a lot. I think in Kenny's perfect mind, in Kenny's perfect Tales from the Crypt episode, we're going to have the gore. We're going to have all that nonsense. We're going to have a fun twist. And we're going to have some comedy thrown in there too, some levity. This episode had a lot of that. It had some really dark themes. It had some gruesome kills. I liked the shears. That was good. I even liked the hammer to the head in the very beginning, even though it was a dream.
Yeah.
It had a good twist. I think the twist could have been better, but I think the twist was still good. And The fact that he did it to himself, I suppose, does make the twist a little better. You know, he's the one who directly killed the surgeon. That is a good dark fate for him.
Mhm.
It had a little bit of comedy, especially with the throwing that woman down the stairs. I think it could have used a little more comedy to be a perfect episode in my mind, but I think this is a really strong episode. I'm going to give this 4 floozies tumbling downstairs.
4 floozies. Yeah, like that was your favorite scene because of the shears too, so it all ties up. That's why you'd have that. But
I liked it.
I'm glad that,
a lot.
I agree with a lot with your opinions as well, because I enjoyed this episode thoroughly and realistically. This is definitely something I'd watch again. So my score would literally just be something simple as 4 Polaroids, just 4 camera shots. So yeah.
4 Polaroids.
Or
Okay, so
paintbrushes.
4 and a 4.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
agree on this episode quite a bit. 4 and a 4.
Mhm.
Good episode. I like this one a lot. Okay, so that brings me to what I think to be kind of an important ongoing segment in our podcast, and that is Horrorespondence. I love building this community. That's one of the big reasons why I'm doing this and why we're doing this. I like sharing our thoughts with you out there, and I love it when you out there are sharing your thoughts with us. Latino Smoothie, I see you out there. You write to us regarding the episode Top Billing, and he says, "You are a loser. Has to be the lowest tier for this season ranking." So when we make our tier list, right, you have, the best episode all the way down to the worst episode, and the worst episode section should be called "You Are a Loser." I love this idea. I think this is such a good idea of using quotes from the season to actually represent what each of the tiers represent.
Smart.
So yeah, Latino Smoothie, that's a great idea. I think we're definitely going to run with that.
Yeah.
Joseph Hill writes to us. This is regarding the reluctant vampire. I think that was last week's episode. He says, "Hey guys, first off, congratulations on growing the community." Hey, thanks for that. And remember, you are part of that community, Joseph, so we appreciate you. "Glad to see the channel getting more exposure and engagement from the viewers. As far as episodes, this isn't one I've rewatched a lot, but listening to your review reminded me of some of the good parts about it. It had some fun gags, a solid cast, and it kind of flips the script with the vampire being the good guy. It's not one of my favorites, but it's entertaining enough to watch. I guess my score would be 3 fang boners out of 5. God, that was something you came up with. The fang
That's so
boner.
funny. I'm glad. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I love that we're running with the scoring it out of items or things from the episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Jamirian also writes us regarding the reluctant vampire. He says, "I love this episode. Like Dead Weight, there's a lot going on, but unlike it, it all fits together. It's silly without being stupid. The love story portion was adorable. The performances were delightful. It was a lot of fun, but I'm partial to anything with vampires. 5 out of 5 stakes." I love how he says it's silly without being stupid. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's the slapstick nature of a lot of these Tales from the Crypt episodes. It's just that they're silly, but they're not stupid though. It's a lot of these episodes are silly in a slapstick way that doesn't take away the horror and the seriousness of the episode. So yeah, I'm glad that you were able to put such a fine point on that. Thank you, Jamirian. Oh, Godden. Iron Sabbath comes to us, and this is also regarding the reluctant vampire. He says, "Well, Kenny, we disagree again, and this time with Godden too, because I'm not the biggest fan of this episode. I personally just found it too strange, and the main female character grated on me." Now, I can see this because her character, remember, she had that real lofty voice, and she was just really kind of, I guess, anime-ish kind of a character. I can see how that could be an annoying character. For me, though, it worked. I liked her. I thought she was funny.
Yeah. I thought it was just enough to be like silly, but not stupid,
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, so sexy. It's like, okay.
This is so sexy. She kept saying that, yeah. Iron Sabbath also writes to us regarding the episode Dead Weight. And I wanted to mention this comment because you'll see why when I get to the end of this comment. I really wanted to mention this one. Agreed, this episode is lackluster. However, the ending is 10 out of 10 for me. Love the twist, so at least it has that going for it. I'd give it a high C for the cool ending alone. Red was played by James Remar, who has a much better horror anthology appearance in Tales from the Dark Side, the segment Lover's Vow. So how funny is that? That when I was watching this episode, Easel Kill Ya, I got vibes from Lover's Vow. And then it turns out that the actor in the previous episode, Dead Weight, was the same actor. So how funny is that? How funny that would come into my mind already, Iron Sabbath, and then I would read your comment about Lover's Vow. So yeah. I thought that was interesting. So I definitely wanted to read that. Now, again, we are at the point where we're starting to get a lot of comments in, and this is not a bad thing. I love the community we're building around this, but it just doesn't make sense for me to go through all the comments and read them. There's just too many for that. So at this point, we do have to start going forward with not necessarily reading all the comments we get. That doesn't mean I want you to stop. Keep the comments coming. I love reading them, but we are going to have to start filtering some of the comments as they come through. So that brings us to shout outs, which again, I think is important. I think it's important to shine the light back out there in the horror community. I'm going to start things off with Creeps of the Crypt. They do a fabulous podcast of just like what we do with Tales from the Crypt. They go through each episode and they talk through them. These are really good guys. I really like their perspectives. I really like watching what they have to say about the same episodes that we're watching. So keep it up, fellas. I also want to give a shout out to Haddonfield Radio. These guys do, I don't know how they do it, full commentaries of movies. And I love their commentary. So I definitely watch them a lot. Haddonfield Radio. So go check them out if you haven't yet. Return, Revenge, Resurrection. Another one. They do talks on big horror movie franchises. Now, of course, I went right to the Friday the 13th and the Halloween. Those are my favorites. The Nightmare on Elm Street. Godden, I just started listening to their take on the Child's Play series. So a lot of fun to be had there. And there is us, ladies and gentlemen, the Cryptique Podcast. If you enjoy this format, if you enjoy us and you want more of us, then check us out. I can be found at 2 Bad About Kenny. That's TOO Bad About Kenny, as well as the number 2 Bad About Kenny. I can be found on YouTube and Twitch, reviewing movies and books, as well as playing some video games. Come through, say hello. I'd love to see you there. Godden, how about you?
With me, they can find me on Twitch, playing video games at UAPP06. And then, I'm trying to do variety games. Horror games are fun, indie games. So you'll catch me playing games there.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for staying tuned to the very end. Hey, do me a favor. If you watch this to the very end, I want you to pick an emoji, any emoji you want, and just comment it down below. Just comment with a single emoji, letting me know that you stuck around to the very end of this podcast. If you do, I'll know that, you are definitely a Cryptique fan. So go ahead and do that. Just a random emoji, put that down below. And if you want to follow along with us and keep up with what we're doing, next week, we'll be right back here talking about Season 3, Episode 9, Undertaking Parlor. So that's what we'll be up to next week. Until then, stay creepy, kiddies.
Well, how was that for a scream, boys and ghouls?